Hello, friends. Welcome to the IME show. The IME show inspire, motivate, and educate. A program of information and inspiration designed to take you to your next level. We want to welcome you again to another episode of the IME show, and we want to thank you for again continuing to support us and like and share this good news. We are all about good news as we seek to inspire, motivate, and uplift the human spirit. Today, I want to discuss plans. Your plans, our plans, the plans that are in our heart. Proverbs, for those of you who are familiar with scriptures, Proverbs 19:21 says, "Many are the plans in a man's heart." Many are the plans in a man's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose, the purpose of our Creator, the purpose of the one who has our destiny in His hands. It is His purpose that prevails. All right? It is His purpose that prevails. Now, many times when we approach this question of plans, we can get into a conversation with ourselves and a conversation with those around us as to what is the size, the scope, or the extent of the plans that we have been designed to make. How are we doing with our planning? Have we left all the planning to God? Or is it that we are supposed to make formidable plans for our future? A future that embodies a destiny that unfolds throughout our lifetime and is perfected as time goes by and time unfolds. And so the narrative here is that a man has many plans in his heart, and it does not seem that that's a negative. There's no negative about making plans, but we receive an assurance here in this text that no matter how many plans we have, it is ultimately the plans that will succeed are the plans that are in alignment with purpose. The plans that are in alignment with purpose are the plans that will succeed, that will get traction, and that will come ultimately to fruition. So we have all types of plans. We have all types of dreams. We have all types of goals. We have all types of ideas. Lots of stuff swimming around in our heads. But it should boil down to this one thing. What is the purpose? What is the ultimate purpose for our plans and our lives? We have to have an understanding that we were created, we were brought into this earth with purpose in mind, with a purpose in mind. And our purpose was given to us from the moment of our conception. You know, that is why it is very probable and more than probable that life begins at the beginning. Life begins at the beginning. And as we know it, life in the womb begins at conception. But I would dare say that life began even before conception, because we were in the mind of our Maker. And because we were in the mind of our Maker, we were a seed in His mind before we became a seed in somebody's body and womb. And so that which was in the mind of our Creator became the manifestation of a conception in the body of the person that would become our mother. And so we have been dispatched to the earth with something in mind that came from his mind. We were the brainchild of our Creator. And that brainchild, what that brainchild became us, the child, that is now in the earth, developing and growing. And the things that are now happening in our heads, happening in our minds, happening in our thoughts, navigating various processes, overcoming various challenges, overriding various circumstances and situations are simply as a result of what was dispatched into our processes. This is why sometimes people don't even fully understand us or fully get what we are about and what we are, how we process information, how we go about life, how we do life, because there is something that makes our rudder guide our ship, that guides our ship significantly differently from somebody else's rudder that guides their ship. And so sometimes when we look across to our neighbor navigating their life, we look in amazement and we say, what in the world are they doing? Don't they see that they are going about it all wrong? Don't they realize that that's not the way to get it done? We write it off as being foolish. But when the other person looks across at us, they're saying, but pretty much the same thing. Why? Because everybody's way, everybody's road, everybody's needs that are supposed to be in line with their goals and their vision and their purpose and the accomplishments that they want to accomplish carry with it a unique rudder that steers their ship in a whole different manner. And for the person looking on, many times it is not, I like to use the word chronological. It doesn't make sense to the natural person. But in the mind of our Maker, it makes perfect sense. And at the end of it all, we will come out victorious. We will come out on the side of achievement. We will come out, we'll make it. So sometimes people will say, but why are you thinking like that? Why is it that you are processing information the way how you are processing? It's because you are handling many plans. And sometimes it is out of these many plans that we ultimately walk into our destiny, walk into what turns out to be ultimately the purpose, our purpose. The purpose is that we were created to fulfill. So many are the plans, but it is an ultimate purpose, the ultimate purpose of our Maker, the Lord, that prevails, right? And so somebody will say, but God's plan is perfect. He has a perfect plan for our lives. Why don't we just follow that plan? How we follow that plan is that we understand that the plans that are stirring in our hearts. You see, sometimes we find something stirring in our hearts that we don't understand ourselves, and we would want to think that we should follow a particular path. But there is something calling us to create a whole new trajectory, a whole new path. And someone said many, many years ago, don't go where the path may lead, but go where there is no path at all and create a path for yourself. So sometimes the reason that some people's path don't look like it is making sense is because they are not going down a path that has been trod before. They are actually creating a path that has never been created before. So the question I want to ask you today is, are your plans big enough? Are your plans in alignment with the amount of time that you think you have? Or are you making your plans with eternity, as it were, on your mind? What would your plans be like if there was no end? If there was no death? If there was no sickness? If there was no culmination of life, what would your plans look like? Are we just making plans to survive? Are we just making plans to thrive? Are we just making plans to get the children, as we say in Jamaican parlance, get them past the worst? Or are we making plans that transcend time? In other words, are we putting behind our plan an element of a thing that would have no end, and in order for it to have no end, or enshrined in its endlessness, is a plan for endless success? If we plan for endless success, then what would constitute itself as even failure would be steps to the fulfillment of endless success. It would be lessons learned on the way to endless success. And so it is very important for us to grasp the reality that if we think that way, if we think that 100 years is a reasonable time to make for a long-term plan, not because we may live to see 100 years necessarily, it's possible, but did we make the plans with our generations in mind? Did we make the plans with our children in mind? Did we make the plans considering that our existence can be outlast with our existence in the things that we have put in place can outlast us and put us in a space where it becomes apparent as if we did not go anywhere, we didn't exit the planet, as it were, because our work, our plan, the plan that we executed, has now transcended our lifetime. That is one of the power of making plans, making formidable plans. So I want to encourage you tonight to make plans that are bigger than you. Make plans that are bigger than your children. Make plans for your great-grandchildren. Because if we continue to make plans that are short-term in nature, then we have already sealed the fate of our project by saying it has a beginning and ultimately it will have an end because of the time frame that I have put on these plans. So what happens is that nature sets up a provisional system that will take care of the thing for as long as you have planned for it. And so if you did not put a long-term plan behind it, then it cannot have long-term sustainability. You know, it's amazing how sometimes you see some powerful entities rise up in your neighborhood or in your country, and the persons who ran it with such precision and such professionalism and prowess and business savvy and everything. And then one day, that individual who was holding the reins exits this life. And when they exit this life, that is when you understand what was the real success of this business, what was the real success of this organization. Because everything that they spent years to build was only thriving because they were able to monitor it themselves. But the moment they ceased to exist, all of what they built started to take started to go down a slippery slope into oblivion, because it was all about the person, the founder. It was all about the ingenuity of the person who had the idea, but they did not pass that idea on to the next generation. They didn't pass it on to their children or their children's children, and so it actually died with them. I remember some time ago, a gentleman had a business here in our country, and it was said that, you know, he held everything close to his chest. He ran that business almost single-handedly, and he had it where he wanted it, and he had it how he could manage it. And he was doing reasonably well within the context of the hold that he had over the business. But it had gotten to a point where he became ill, apparently, and then he passed away. And it is said that after he passed, the children would have wanted to go in and to continue his business, continue his operations. But it, of course, paperwork and financing and different things that were needed were not readily available and accessible, simply because the gentleman did not include his children in his business affairs. So when he died, they didn't even have access to accounts. They didn't have access to checkbooks and different things that he would have left behind, because he did not put anything in place. So it's very important that we make plans. It's very important that we include in our plan, and this is just us encouraging each other, that we include in our plan exactly what we want to see for our time and beyond our time, because that is the only way that you can, at least in principle, secure the future of what you saw. You know, Walt Disney, it is said that a short time before he passed away, Disney World had just opened, and I didn't have much yet to offer, but they had the dream and they had the land. And a few short months, weeks, maybe a short time before he passed away, he came onto the property and he looked at a section of the property, and everybody was looking at him, looking at the property, and he said to them, I want to make this ride called Space Mountain. Now Space Mountain is a very popular ride in Disney today, but in the 60s, 50s, 60s, it was all new. And so he ordered started moving at the development and the building of the Space Mountain. And when Space Mountain was completed, by the time Space Mountain was completed, Walt Disney had already passed away. And after his passing, and on the day of the dedication and the opening of Space Mountain, the MC said, in introducing his wife, his widow, the MC said it's a pity that Walt did not live to see Space Mountain. And when they introduced his wife and she got up, she said, correction, it is because Walt Disney saw Space Mountain why we are here today. In other words, what she was really saying is that even though he did not live to see it fully functional in the physical, he was the one who, it was his vision. He saw it. And because he saw it, that is why you are seeing it. Sounds a little confusing, but because he saw it in the future, you are now seeing it in the present. So what he saw was the completed thing, right? And then he came back after what he saw, and then he relayed it to his people, his staff, his engineers, his different people. Some may have been skeptical, some may have been cynical, some may have said, oh, here we go again. Some would have said, all right, let's give it a try. But out of all of these things, some of the negative ones may have jumped off the bandwagon and said, no, I'm not going to be doing this. Let me go get a real job or something. This guy is crazy. But those who stuck with him are now beneficiaries of having the privilege of being a part of what has turned out to be history. So I want to challenge you once more to don't go where the path may lead. Make big plans. Make plans that are bigger than you, bigger than your children, bigger than your current situation and circumstance. Don't let your current situation and circumstance stop you from making plans, because it is out of those plans, it is out of those dreams, it is out of those situations that you will come out as pure gold and manifesting in a way, manifesting achievement and abundance in a way that can start blessing the next generation even from now. So I just want to say that to you tonight or today as we wrap up the IME show. The IME show inspire, motivate, and educate while we transform the human spirit. Feel free to avail yourself of the payment information at the bottom, how you can donate and how you can send us your contributions so we can continue to do this kind of thing and so many other good deeds that we seek and endeavor to do throughout our time. God bless you once more as we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Have a good day.